All right, everybody, we have Christina here. Christina is a high producing agent, one of our top producing agents here at SLS, and she is relatively new to the business. How long you been in insurance now, Christina?
It'll be 4 months, I believe, in February. Or
Okay, cool.
I started in February, so almost four
Per
months.
Perfect, awesome. So Christina's been in the business going on just about a little over 3 months now, almost 4 months. And she has had multiple weeks over 10,000. She broke 15,000 AP, and she absolutely crushes it. And that's super impressive. Like, most people, there are a lot of veterans who've been in insurance for 3 or 4 years who aren't hitting those numbers, never mind someone 3 to 4 months. And I know we have a pretty good system here, but there are plenty of agents who don't hit that. So it says a lot about you, Christina. So how did you start in the insurance business? Well, first, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about how she started, and I'm going to get into what she does for sales. So don't worry, this is not going to be a biography on Christina. This is going to be a lot of learning about her tactics too. But how'd you get into the business?
um, well, I came from property management. I was a front desk specialist at my last job, and basically they kind of screwed me over. Didn't really want to do it anymore. So I quit, and I didn't really know what I was going to do next, but I knew I would find something. So I got on Indeed, and at first I was kind of just looking for another front desk position. And then I saw your ad on Indeed, and I saw life insurance agent work from home, and I was like, hey, let's check this out because I've always came from customer service anyway, so I knew that I could talk to people because I've talked to people since I was 11 years old. And I mean, it just kind of went from there. It said that you guys would provide the means to get your insurance license, and I bought my course the same day, and here we are.
Awesome, cool. So now that you've been here, would you ever go back to property management from insurance?
Absolutely not.
Cool.
Absolutely not. I worked, it was 10 to 6, and no, I would never go back. I
Yeah.
made $17 an hour, and I mean, back then, that was great. That's the most I ever made hourly, but I would never go back to an hourly after this, no.
Yeah, and I think once someone breaks, it's funny because like at first you have to invest more hours than you would have before to make that same amount of money, but then there's that switch that happens. So at about like what is your let's give people some preface here on what your daily routine looks like, your daily schedule. Then we'll talk about how long you had to do that before you get up to the point where you're at now.
Okay, well, I'm Central Time, so I'm an hour behind you guys. So I get on the computer at 7 a.m. every morning for our morning breakfast call, and I usually try to stay on the computer at least until 7 or 8 o'clock at night my time. So, I mean, my days are usually pretty long. Of course, I don't sit here all day. I mean, I get up, I eat, I try to exercise a little bit, I move around, I get outside to get some sun.
Hmm. Yeah,
But, I mean, that's pretty much what it looks like.
cool. So you're working pretty much all day.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And I see that. I mean, I don't, you rarely ever miss a Zoom call in the morning. We have our 8 a.m. Zoom. You work all through the day. I see you posting sales at night. It's like, I feel like when people just put average effort in, it's way more tiring than when they go a little bit above and beyond because the results aren't there. So how long did you have to do, well, about how many people do you try to call a day? Like, what's your metric for activity?
Um, well, I mean, in the beginning when I started, of course, it was 200 dials or 5 hours of talk time because that's the targets that we set. Now, um, I feel like I don't have so much as a dial limit. I try to get at least 5 presentations in a day. That's kind of my daily target. I mean, that usually ends up with about 100 dials a day, usually. Some days are better than others. I've had days where I only make 50 dials and I have 5 or 6 presentations and a few sales. Every day is kind of different, but I normally aim for the 5 presentations a day.
Awesome, cool. So someone just starting out of the business here at SLS, which if you guys ever were interested in the system that is provided to Christina and myself through our agency, you can just email me at jve@thejbe.com. My email is going to be in the description of the video. Also, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications if you find value in the content here. So if someone's just starting out in the business and they're not with SLS, because we provide our agents essentially unlimited leads to call, would you recommend that they start with like a lower amount of of high intent leads or a large volume of aged leads?
Um, okay, wait, ask me that question
Yeah,
again.
so do you think it would be better for someone brand new who doesn't have the skill developed yet to
Hmm.
buy like say they spent $1,000 on leads, right? Would it make more sense for them to get like, 200 age leads or 50 brand new leads?
I feel like newer leads,
Okay.
because if you're spending all that money on aged leads, I mean, there's a chance that you're not going to be able to sell those aged leads because the aged ones are older and a lot of people are already going to have insurance and they're going to give you objections right in the beginning. And I mean, there goes your however much money you just spent on that lead. So,
Okay, cool. Awesome. Sweet. So you look at more intent than volume. All right.
I
Sweet.
mean,
So
I would, but luckily I don't have to deal with that because, SLS provides the lead, so I've never had to deal with that.
no, yeah, no, that's cool because a lot of people are like, hey, I would. A lot of people say the opposite. They're like, hey, I'd start with age leads because my skill's not there, so I wouldn't want to lose the opportunity on an expensive one when I get the reps in. But no,
Yeah,
that's
that
cool.
makes sense.
I mean, yeah, but what you made sense, what you said makes sense too. So there was I remember there was like a week where there was like this breakthrough for you, and it's been a change ever since then, right? You remember that? We had a one-on-one, and then
I do.
it was like,
How
bam,
could I
ever
forget?
since then, it was like huge, and I love that because it's like, man, when someone actually applies like the simple stuff, and we were trying to figure it out too, so it was kind of like a deep dive. But what was that breaking point for you from like struggle to hustle to crushing it?
Well, the struggle, was in the beginning. I definitely tried to follow the script, and I was good at it. Because I mean, it's not that hard. I already have that tonality, that peppy, upbeat. So I mean, people like to talk to me. It's easier for me to talk to people that way. And then, I tried to start implementing newer things that I would learn, and it was just a lot. Still, kind of being a new agent, a lot to take in all at once.
Yeah.
So I kind of went downhill a little bit from there. And then when we had our one-on-one, you were like, look, just focus on getting to the quote no matter what people say. Get presentations in because, I mean, you're right. Without presentations, you're not going to make sales. So, I mean, from that point, you were just like, look, just get through it no matter what. And I think the next day I had maybe like 6 or 7 presentations, and it was just like good from there. So,
Yeah, no, that's huge, and like, I mean, you can't have two sales a day if you're making two presentations, right? So,
I mean, unless you're super good and you get really lucky.
yeah, exactly. And
But yeah.
guys, yeah, and the point there, guys, is that, you don't have to have like, people are going to try to sell you on some crap. Like the agents who make the most money are the ones who are making the most presentations, hands down. And when you're starting, you don't have to try to learn like everything and all the little tricks and everything else. Just get a script that you know works. You can email
Mhm.
me for a copy of ours and just follow through it. So if you could go back to the beginning to, um, you know, new Christina, what advice would you give to her?
um, breathe. Because I'm a very high strung person already. I have anxiety and things like that. So in the beginning, it was definitely a struggle. If you could go back to my first call I ever made, it was so funny because I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I've got my script. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for these objections. And I remember little Nancy was on the phone. I was like, hey, Nancy, it's Christina, whatever, blah, blah, blah. She was like, oh, I'm okay. I already have that covered. And I just like went blank. And I stuttered so bad my first call. It was awful. I just hung up. I was like, I can't. It was horrible. But
That's
yeah, basically just breathe. Try not to overwhelm yourself because it's definitely a lot when you're first starting, especially for someone like me who has never been in sales before or worked from home. So this is all kind of new to me, but yeah, just take it day by day.
awesome, cool. And Christina sells from home, final expense 100% over the phone. So it's pretty impressive. So now, when someone tells you that they already took care of it, what do you say?
I usually say no worries, I'm just going to get you some information and I just try to move on. Just keep
Cool.
it
So
simple. No worries. Just gonna keep going.
it's
Pulling
just
Austin on them.
yeah, he's a pro at that.
Yeah.
So it's just really you're saying it's just a smoke. It's just a smoke screen. Like a lot of times it's
Yeah.
not even legit.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
That's
it's
hard though.
crazy too, because I mean, people like I realize that you're just trying to get me off the phone, but people really need to think about protecting their family and the fact that who knows how long you put this request in and you're just not doing anything about it. You know what I mean? So it's like people are calling you to try and help you, and you're just nah, it's okay. I don't need that right now. I don't plan on dying. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
No. I'm gonna live forever. You get that one yet?
Nobody plans on dying, Miss Jones. Come on now.
Yeah. Exactly. How long did it take you to, so every new agent, every single new it's so funny because I have a class of new agents every week. And there's always a few who are like, "Oh, no one wants to buy this." Oh. They get all like, you know, and they get all upset. And they're like, "Oh, these are all time wasters." So, like, at what point did you like what did you do to kind of get over? Did you just kind of take our advice and be like, "Yo, just keep going"? Like it's a bunch of
I
crap, or
mean, yeah, definitely. Like in the beginning, it's definitely a struggle. And I started in B leads in only Florida, just like everybody else.
hmm
I had to work my way to those A leads, those live transfers, everything like that. So I mean, yeah, definitely the coaches, listen to your coaches, call an SBC when you need one, and train. I watch your YouTube videos all the time, so I mean, you have a lot of good stuff. So shout out to you. Definitely check out his videos if you have not. But I mean, yeah, training, listening, implementing what you learn is definitely a big. Take notes.
cool.
Take notes and implement.
Yeah, application, right? Because there's a bunch of smart people out there, but a lot of them don't make any money because they don't apply what they know. So you gotta apply. Aptitude is big, and that's a big. I noticed too. Like that's honestly one of the. I know a guy who is a sales company, and if he role plays with someone and then tells them to apply something and they can't apply it within like 2 or 3 times, he doesn't hire them.
Mm.
So like that application, guys, is super, super important. You can watch a million training videos, but if you don't apply it,
Hmm.
then it's kind of out the window. So what do you think was the biggest contributor to your success so far?
I mean, like you said, definitely role playing. That was a big thing in the beginning. I would role play with my fiance, and I would have him just be mean to me, give me all kinds of objections, and we would just get through it. But in the beginning, we used to have trainings where we would role play with our coaches and our teammates, and all that good stuff. So role playing was definitely a big part, and learning your script. I still have my script right here because I do still need it. I'm not there where I can just throw it away. I basically know most of it, but like I still flip through it and I'm like, okay, where am I at? But so yeah, definitely role playing was a big part.
Awesome. Cool. And having that script in front of you guys is huge. Like, you're given a script when you start in this business for a reason, and it's usually given to you by someone who's like, you know, su- already had some success with it. So just follow what's there. And Christina, it's good that you keep that in front of you because I see agents sometimes who stop following a script or stop using it, and then they don't even realize it. But 6 weeks later, they're doing something like way different than what had helped them get that success in the first place.
Yeah, like I mean, I mainly follow the script, but me being almost 4 months in, there are things that I have
Yeah,
learned
of
that I've
course.
implemented on my own. Um,
Mhm.
so I mean, yeah, there's that too. But if you're new, I definitely recommend just following the script.
Yeah, and that's the evolution of it. You make something yours. It's like, we find our style, but you have to start somewhere. And I
Mhm.
think people get stressed out about following a script. They're like, oh, I have to follow this. But I'm
Mhm.
telling you guys, it makes your life easier. Just follow what's given to you. Like we've already, people have already figured, people have been selling life insurance for 200 years. It's not like we
Mhm.
invented any of this stuff. It's like, it's been
And I
passed
mean,
down.
plus nobody really knows that you're following a script. It's not
Yeah.
like they're gonna come off and say, "Hey, you missed that part of the script," or whatever. Can you try that again? But I mean, yeah, just follow the script and try not to sound like you're reading a script, you
hmm
know.
Yeah, and that comes too, guys, from memorizing it. If you're not able to have those fluctuations in your tonality while you're reading something, if your reading level isn't that high, then you can just memorize it, right, and get to that point where
Mhm.
you can kind of put your tone into it. So priorities of things for a new agent to know. Now, what I mean by this is, we get new agents who start. That's why I try to tell people who don't, people, if you guys are watching this may be different for you if you're in an independent organization, because you kind of got to know everything before you can make a sale. But say, Christina, if you were to say, like, what's the most important thing for new people to get down and focus on learning? Would it be the script or the products or the applications, or what would it be?
Um, well, I mean, the script is definitely big because without the script, you're not going to know what to do. I mean, you're not going to know what questions to ask and, you know, how to build the need or, present the product. You're not going to know any of that stuff without the script. So definitely that. Learning the products is definitely a big one too. I feel like it might not be as big in the beginning. You definitely want to know the script first, because in the beginning you're not gonna know too much about the products, just from what you've already learned. But that's when bringing in your SBCs is really going to help you a lot. Like when you start getting the health information, and then on the script it says, okay, well, I'm going to transfer you to my SBC, whatever, however it says it. Then that's when they come in and kind of take over the call. But to answer your question, the script I feel like is definitely the biggest thing.
Awesome, cool. And I think people get stuck. I think people get scared of failing sometimes, and I see it all the time. And if you guys are new and watching this, maybe you're not new and this has happened to you too. People get, like, preparation feeds fear. Like, I feel like people, like, when they start to be like, I'm just going to take a couple extra days to train and make sure that I got everything down. And it's like, hey, that preparation is going to feed your fear. So guys, if you feel that, I promise, just getting out there, making those calls, talking to people about it, like, anything you can do, it's going to help you grow. Like, you can take that hour to a time every day to train. That's super important. But even more important than that is put in the activity, put in the effort, because you're at least if you're on the phone trying, there's a chance you're going to make a sale. If you're sitting there reading a bunch of stuff at home by yourself, there's absolutely no chance you're going to make a sale. So
Yeah. Activity is definitely number one in the beginning. Without activity, I mean, there's nothing.
okay, so the priority would really be for new agents just getting the reps in on the phone with
Yes.
with the script.
Yeah, definitely activity.
Okay.
Because, I mean, without activity, you're not getting the practice in, and so it's not even helping you if you're not getting that activity in the beginning.
Yeah, at that point, it really doesn't even matter, right?
Hmm.
So how do you mentioned building the need, which is important. And I remember this is something that, like, we, like, kind of had like, when we had that, like, analysis of your process, like, you went from maybe, like, kind of being confused on this to now you're kind of rocking with it. So, like, what do you do to build the need and help them find their why and understand they have a problem?
Um, well, I'm still working on that myself. I'm trying to build that need a little more. That's where I'm at in my process, trying to build that need more. But pretty much, like, so for example, if they don't have insurance and their beneficiary is their daughter or their son, their kids, I try to build it there. And, what is Susie gonna do when you pass away and there's no money? How's she gonna pay for your funeral? I mean, you sent me a little build a need script, so I try to use that. And so, I mean, yeah, that pretty much works for me most of the time. I try to use their beneficiary, because that's who they love and that's who they're leaving the money to take care of everything. So that's definitely the biggest thing on building the need.
Okay. Do you ever sell to people who you have trouble building the need with? Maybe they just don't want to tell you.
Yes, all the
Okay.
time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so guys, you don't have to, like, obsess over figuring out their why and, like, the pain point and all that, because people
Yeah.
are they may have it internally and they may not tell you. Yes, ask the
Mhm.
questions. Don't skip over that part. It's very important. But, like, don't, like, you don't have to sit there and obsess over, like, 10, 15 minutes. Oh, they're not even telling me why they want it. Well, some people
Mhm.
will, some people won't, but doesn't mean that they're not. Obviously, if someone's, like, all about telling you what the problem is, there's a better chance of them buying, but
Oh
people will
yeah.
still buy.
It's good when it's like that. They're like, I need this so
Yeah.
bad. I don't want my daughter to have to go through the burden. I'm like, all right, I got your need. There we go.
Yep. It's easy as that. Now, what's the biggest objection you run into in the close when you go for asking for the sale?
Oh, in the close. Um, Probably I need to think about it.
How do you handle that?
Well, first I'll try to use the loop that we have on the script. So, I mean, I'll go into, I understand, blah, 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 and I'll just follow that loop. And I also use the rebuttals page as much as I can. That loop has worked for me a couple times, so it's definitely some good stuff. But
Awesome. Cool. How many no's do you try to get before you just like, yeah, okay, I'm moving on?
four or five.
Okay, cool. And but guys, she has structured rebuttals. Okay, so we have a loop that's on our script. You can email me for a copy of the script. You'll see it. It's a one rebuttal that can handle every objection. And then there's also a website that has a bunch of rebuttals on it for final expense. You can check the link in the description of the video for that as well.
I
So
want to go back to that for a second because in the beginning it was I need to think about it, but now I feel like it's I can't afford it.
okay.
And that's when I get, because I quote high.
Mhm.
So, if I'm quoting a 75-year-old, 80-year-old, whatever, it's going to be super expensive for the max. And I'm kind of like laughing in my head because I'm just waiting for them to be like, oh my God, that's expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I can't afford that either, no worries. So I keep going down. But then if it gets down to below $50, and they tell me they can't afford it. I mean, if it's someone that like really really needs it, like, I'm gonna try to push and I'm gonna go as low as I can for them. I'm like, look, we have this 5,000. It's only $30 a month. And if they tell me that's too expensive, I'm not trying to push for that because at that point I'm not wasting my time on a $30 a month. I'm not doing
Yeah, they all fall off anyway, right?
it.
Like all
That's
those
just
cheap
me.
ones.
I'm not gonna. I learned that pushing for someone that can't afford below $50 a month, they're gonna cancel anyway. It's not worth my time anymore.
Yeah, and it's like if they all they can afford is $30 a month, like if the loaf of bread goes moldy, then there goes their chunk of
Yeah.
their money.
This
Um,
actually just happened to me. I had a guy that I sold maybe like a month ago, and it was $40 a month. And I called him yesterday to check to see if he got his policy in the mail. He's like, "Oh, I want to cancel that. That's too expensive." And I was like, "Okay, we'll get it canceled for
yeah, exactly.
you."
It's like oh, you know,
Yeah.
and so guys, so the thing is like higher premium deals, guys. There's actually a better persistency with them. So we actually have a higher percentage of deals over $100 a month stay than less than $50 a month on the books. But when you lose a big deal, it can hit you harder because you're like, oh man, it has more of a shock. So you may get
Yeah.
scared to quote
That's
high.
happened before too.
Yeah, it does, But if you write 100 deals under $50 a month and 100 deals over $150 a month, you're gonna get more of the ones over 100, $150 a month staying than the ones under
Mhm.
50. So don't feel. I talked about this in my last video I put out yesterday or a couple days ago. Like, hey, always quote high, and
Mhm.
it works because like, how many times have you quoted a super high premium? People are like, oh sure, and you're like, okay, and you're like
I
surprised.
mean, yeah, like sometimes it happens and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to stop there then. Like
Yeah.
cuz they don't even know that you can go lower, they don't know what you're doing.
Were
So
you
I
scared?
start I'm like, okay, this is going to be the max coverage and I'm going to work my way down if we need to. That's what I say. And I'm like, okay, the max coverage you can get is 50,000. It's $250 a month, whatever. And if they react a certain way, they're like, "Oh my God, that's a little steeper. That's insane." I'm like, "Yeah, no worries. Listen, let's go lower."
Cool. Awesome. So that was that kind of scary for you at first?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially quoting the older people, like I said, 75, 80 years old. The max coverage, I mean, it's going to be 5, 600. It really depends on their health, what company. But
Is it less scary now that you've had some success quoting higher?
yeah, it's definitely less scary now. I'm
Okay.
not afraid to quote high anymore. And if you hang up on me in the beginning, when I tell you that I'm going to quote you the max and we're going to go down if we need to. And if I give you the max and you hang up, then I mean, I'm gonna call you back and be like,
Yeah.
hey, like, but they normally don't answer because that person wasn't gonna buy anyway, and that's what I've learned from all you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, what determines whether you follow up with someone or not?
um, I mean, that really depends how far I get in the script. Like if it's in the beginning and they're like, oh, this is a bad time, can you call me back? I'm like, I'll say, sure, I can absolutely call you back. Is this still important to you, or is
Hmm.
final expense still on your to-do list? And if they say yes, then I'll call them back, and I'll try to get a hold of them. But if they tell me no, it's not important, or they're not trying to check it off, I'm like, okay, have a good day, and I let it go.
Cool. Awesome.
So
Sweet. Yeah, because if they don't like the product or it doesn't matter, then how much can you do, right?
yeah, but that really depends on how far I get in the script, as far as following up with them. So if I get really far, and I've built rapport, I've built the need, and then something comes up, like they have to go to a doctor's appointment or something like that, I'm definitely following up and calling me back. Follow-ups are huge. So,
Cool. Yeah, no, it is follow fortunes in the follow-up. So,
mhm.
guys, if you have any questions for Christina, just drop them in the comments in the video, and I'll make sure to forward them to her, and we can get a personalized response from Christina on how you can improve your sales. If you'd like to email me for a copy of my script or to learn about what we do here at SLS, just check the email in the description of the video. And I hope you guys all found value in this. Christina, thank you so much for being on here today. We
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
You guys do not want to miss the next video coming up. This agent wrote 84,000 in annualized premium, his second month in the business, selling final expense 100% over the phone. You want to check that out. Christina's still way cooler though. See you guys later.